Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector. So Gamer's Manual actually responded to my video and confirmed a lot of what I thought. For those of you who haven't been caught up, Gamer's Manual, well-known video game collector, specifically retro game collector in the retro gaming space here on YouTube. Gamer's Manual has actually elected to sell the bulk of his collection. From what it sounds like, it's 95+% of his collection. He's keeping a few select items. And I think he said that like his wife and his daughter, they're going to be keeping certain portions of the collection. But the lion's share of his collection, he has sold. And he responded to that video. Shout out to you, Gamers Manual. Good luck with all of your future endeavors. But he did respond to the video and said that pretty much what I thought was accurate. Real estate is involved. So there's a good chance that Gamers Manual is probably upgrading his home, and nothing but respect for you, man. As a family man myself, I'm literally holding my youngest in my arms right now as I make this video because we're getting ready to head out. She's falling asleep in my arms. But yeah, respect to you, man, for recognizing what's important in life and making that decision and pulling the trigger. You know, selling your collection is not easy. I think selling your collection in a lot of ways can be a lot harder than I think a lot of people think, because there's a lot of sentimental and emotional attachments that you have to the collection, right? Of course, we know that we can get these games back and buy these games back, but when you've had them in your, as a collector, when you've had certain things in your collection for some time, getting rid of them is just a very, very tough thing to do. And so that also leads me to kind of like this next thought process of where collecting will be going over the next 5 years, because by the end of this year, we will have been 5 years removed from the pandemic hype of collecting. And I know I've said that in multiple videos, I get it. But and every time I think that we're kind of like at a low point in collecting and, you know, things can't get any lower, I get this vibe, and this feeling kicks in, and I see things that indicate to me that we've still got more room for the retro gaming hype to kind of drop down. And it's not because people aren't interested in retro video games anymore. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. Don't take what I'm saying as no one cares about retro games, or retro game prices are going to tank. I'm not saying anything like that. But what I'm saying is that regular life is coming back. People are returning back to normal life. People are, and they have been, it's been a transition for years. What we went through from pretty much 2020 up to 2022, maybe 2023, that was really traumatic for a lot of people. A lot of marriages were broken. A lot of homes were broken. If you think it was easy for everyone to be boxed up inside a house 24 hours a day and not have problems, you're sadly mistaken. And while, yes, some families were able to make it through that time unscathed, caused a lot of problems, you know what I mean? And video games, as I've said before, were an escape for a lot of people. Video games became an escape for me. And now that a lot of people are transitioning back to regular life, their perspectives are shifting. And Gamer's Manual is a prime example of a person who has had a shift in perspective. And that shift in perspective doesn't mean that he no longer likes video games. It just means he has a shift in perspective. He's recognizing what's most important at this stage of his life and where he wants to put his time, energy, and resources. And I think you're going to start to see more and more people do that. I really do. I think more and more people are going to start to do that. I'm seeing people, gamers, talk about how they're getting more active. I've seen, some of these retro gaming YouTubers or video game YouTubers in general. I'm seeing them talking about going to the gym, getting more active, going out, hiking, doing things more outdoors, spending more time with family, traveling. If as one person, you can only do one thing at a time, right? And so if you start to pour your energy and attention into being outdoors, doing active things, socializing, being out and around people, there's not going to be as much time for retro game hunting, retro game collecting, and retro game playing. Something's got to give. And when you have obligations and responsibilities, that impacts that. Now, you might say, well, Retro Rick has a family and he does it. Chase After the Right Price has a family, he does it. Phoenix Risa has a family, he does it. Yeah, they do it because that's their job. Like they don't have another job. That is their job. That's what they do for work, right? That so it's easy for them to blend retro game hunting, collecting, owning a shop, reselling, all that. It's easy for them to blend that into their family lives because that's their job. That's how they provide for their family. Gamer's Manual does not game hunt to provide for his family. I think he said he has two jobs. He commented under my video saying, that he has two jobs. You think a guy with two jobs and a full family can do what Retro Rick does? Hell no. I mean, not enough time in the world. And he's already sacrificed enough time, that he could have spent with his family building the collection that he had. He doesn't want to do that anymore. So you can't use Phoenix and Chase or even like Pixel Game Squad and like Riff and all these guys. This is what they do. This is their job. This is their life. That's who they are, right? But that's not going to be the case for a lot of people. And what they do, like it's gaming and game hunting isn't just what they do. YouTube is a big part of what they do. Reselling is a big part of what they do. Game hunting is a big part of what they do. And all of their activities feed upon one another and support each other, right? So they're hustling. At the end of the day, these guys are hustlers. They hustle. They hustle day in, day out. They hustle hard because the second they stop is the second the income stops. It's the second their ability to support themselves and their family stops and they have to turn around and go out and get a real job. And while, yes, many of them are entrepreneurs, and it does take an entrepreneurial spirit to start a store, start a business of any kind, they've sold out completely, right? They've pushed all their chips in, all of their life chips in. They've pushed all their chips into retro gaming. And so retro game hunting, conventions, opening a store, that has to work for them. It's not to say that they don't have a plan B. If they're smart, I'm sure they have a plan B as to what they would do if the bottom completely falls out of retro game collecting and stuff. But my point is that they pushed all their chips into the center of the table and sold out completely to making the business of retro game collecting, retro game hunting, retro game reselling, and then creating content around all of that, which helps to support, what they do. They're completely sold out to that. And so it has to work for them. But for a guy like Gamer's Manual, that does not have to work for him because he's employed he's got two jobs and he's doing other things. And so I think for some people, you will see this more. You will see this happen with some people who are getting back to the other sides of their life where they're doing other things. I know that there's parts of my collection that I can never sell, just because even if I never played some of these games again, these just make for great. Like if I had like in my next house, when I have a built-in shelf, I'm gonna have books on there, but I'm also gonna have some of these games because these are classics, man. These are time capsules. They take me back to an era in the '90s that we'll never see again. So some of these games, of course, I'd hang on to forever. But when you're going through transition, it's painful and it's beautiful at the same time. And so I think that's what we saw in Gamer's Manual. I appreciate the comment. Thank you for confirming a lot of what I said, so I didn't sound like a complete loony guy, like I was making stuff up. But yeah, I kind of figured that was what it was. And so who knows? You might see Gamer's Manual's next video. He's in this decked out mansion with a pool in the backyard and a jacuzzi and a wine cooler and a wine cellar rather, and all this cool stuff. And man, no amount of video games can ever beat the feeling of purchasing and owning your own home. And for those of you who've done it, you know exactly what I'm saying. And if you haven't done it, trust me, try it. You'll enjoy the feeling. So that does it for me. I'm off. I'm out. I'm going to be handling some business, doing some errands. Maybe I'll stream, do some streaming tonight, some Sega Genesis streaming. And I'll catch up with you guys later. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.